Yo, what the heck, man? Not cool.
President Biden is holding a White House press conference on Thursday, his first formal solo conference since he took office. President Biden will likely face questions about the surge of migrants at the southern border, gun control in the wake of 2 mass shootings, Asian American representation in his administration, and North Korea's recent firing of short-range missiles. In other news, the Northampton Policing Review Commission has finalized a report focusing on police reform titled Reimagining Safety. Many of the recommendations revolve around developing unarmed peer response services within the city infrastructure. Properly staffed and funded, peer responders would be able to handle calls where the appearance of an armed officer may escalate the situation or not be necessary.
Y'all ready for this?
Indoor track was given a second chance at their season after being moved to the Fall 2 season. Indoor track is now outdoors and their season's a bit upside down. This week we talked to the indoor track captains about the changes to their outdoor-indoor season.
I'm here with seniors Talia and Adele to talk about their track season. How has your season changed?
During the pandemic, winter track is pretty similar except for the fact that it's outdoors, but other than that,
yeah,
it's the same.
I wouldn't say it's changed that much other than like you have to wear a mask obviously, and that definitely like affects running, not by a lot, but like a little bit. It definitely makes it harder to breathe while running. It hasn't been bad because of the warm weather.
How does not having a state tournament affect your motivation?
I'd say it's kind of hard to self-motivate, but if we look at this like training for outdoor where we do have a championship, then it's just something further down the line that we can look towards.
I think also it's good because it's just, this is kind of like just for fun, but I like better.
I'm here with seniors Ari and Glenn to talk about their indoor track season. How has this season better prepared you for your spring outdoor season?
Well, for distance, most of the events are the same in indoor and outdoor are pretty similar, so this indoor season is a good chance to see what type of training's working for us and what's not.
And so for us sprinters, we're just sort of trying to get that general strength built up so that when it comes around to the spring season, we're just ready to put down some good times and get that speed ready.
What does a typical indoor track workout look like?
For distance runners, we do a lot of types of repeat workouts, so we might do 4 times a mile or 6 times 800, things like that.
Yeah, and then for the sprinters, we do a lot of like faster reps, like 200s, 100s, and then sometimes we'll do some weight work, you know, lunges, squats, all that stuff. But yeah, generally faster work.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to tune in next week.
Taking it to the streets, oh yeah, taking it to the streets.
Levi?
Hey.
Hey there.
Oh hi.
You want to say your line?
I'm Levi Armstrong. This is Taken to the Streets.
week, we took it to the streets of downtown Northampton to hear people's thoughts on the increase in Asian hate crimes occurring across the world. The tragic events that have unfolded in the Atlanta area this week has set off a new wave of fear and outrage among Asian Americans. Already traumatized by a rising tide of hate, Asian Americans have been living in fear for months. Anti-Asian hate crimes are up to 150% during the pandemic.
So over the summer, we all saw the intense call for social justice for Black Americans, but at the actual time, and I can prove the statistics, the number of violent acts committed against Asians was higher than the number of acts committed against Blacks. Should the call for justice for Asians been just as prevalent for Black Americans?
Yes, absolutely. I think the call for justice to end violence against every minority and every person affected by systemic racism in America should be just as prevalent as one another. However, there has been a long-standing systemic oppression of Black people, which is very prevalent specifically in police brutality. And so this summer, the momentum surfaced behind the killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and many other Black Americans. And while it is really important that each minority not be targeted by violence, of course, each movement needs its own space without being pitted against each other.
What is the best way to combat this issue?
First and foremost, as an educator, I guess, I would say education. There's a lot of history involved in terms of racial groups between white Americans and Asian Americans. It looks differently depending on geographical location. The West Coast and the East Coast, very different histories there.
With acts of violence still occurring across the country against Asian Americans, hundreds of protests have broken out condemning this extreme violence. Asian communities have been rattled by this discrimination, and with COVID numbers slowly declining, we have yet to discover if the blame of the COVID-19 virus will slowly go away. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week.
This month, the Northampton City Council approved funding for a two-part feasibility study on building a municipal broadband network on first reading Thursday to the cheer of municipal broadband advocates. A municipal broadband community network provides internet and related services to citizens as a utility. It is usually overseen by a publicly accountable institution, such as a local government. The Council's approval of the program doesn't authorize the spending for the project, but gives the Council's blessing for the plan's contents. Funding for the project will be approved or rejected as they are brought forward to the Council through ordinances. We spoke to Northampton IT Director Antonio Pagan to better understand the fiber network proposal and what it would mean for the city.
My name is Antonio Pagan. I'm the CIO for the City of Northampton and the Northampton Public Schools. The City of Northampton is looking at a fiber network that will be able to provide a gigabit bandwidth for every resident and business that is interested to use our fiber network. It's important to understand that before a network is developed that is feasible, there is enough customer base to maintain the operation cost. There is enough funding for capital improvement in the future, and that the development of the network is serving the goals of the city. We want to promote net neutrality. That's something that is being talked about in many places, but it's hard to implement. When a municipality owns the network, there is more leverage to ensure that happens. Other thing is there are populations within any municipality that it's hard for them to afford these kind of services. And being owned or developed by the city, it will allow us to make it affordable. The city becomes more attractive to people to move in because they have better services, businesses to develop online organizations or business institutions, and people will be able to really rely on a service that is reliable.
Fiber networks have already been introduced in Leverett, Westfield, and South Hadley. East Hampton is also looking into municipal broadband. The first part of the study took place last year, with the second part being set for 2021 and estimated to cost $40,000. Thank you for watching. I'm Shiloh Hammerland with the Transcript.
This Wednesday at 12 p.m., the NHS Remote Concert Series brings you another great performance, this time by local musician Matali Banda. Currently based in Massachusetts, Banda grew up in the Midwest and South. The son of a Malawian refugee father and an African-American mother, all the sounds he was exposed to can now be heard in his music. He has shared the stage with Sonia Sanchez, Talib Kweli, the Sound Rebels, Anik Khan, and The Wave. He toured as the saxophonist for Jeremy Turkin Quinnett and was the composer and saxophonist for the Mixed Race mixtape, a hip-hop theater piece which toured nationally.